no, no. No, 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 no.
Hey y'all, this is the Pleasure and Peace Practice, and I'm your host, Tia, your Pleasure and Peace practitioner. For those of you who may be new here, welcome. This is a space where your pleasure is not optional and your peace is sacred. Each episode, we explore things that are real, raw, and I hope restorative. Through honest conversation, evidence-based practice, and an abundance of permission, I encourage you to feel good. Whether you're here to reconnect with your body, unlearn harmful shame, or just take a breath, you belong here. Welcome in. Hey y'all, I'm excited to announce our topic for today. This episode is based on the listener-submitted question I debuted last week around trauma, shame, medical anxiety, and the conflict between wanting care and maybe a baby while dreading the process. This heartfelt submission deserved its own episode, and I think a lot of you are going to relate. As a reminder, the listener-submitted inquiry was as follows. I've been seeing a therapist virtually for almost 5 years. They have helped me immensely with many issues, but the one thing I have yet to be able to conquer is working through going to the gynecologist and making it through a pelvic exam without crying and so much anxiety and shame, almost to the point of anxiety attacks. How or what can I do to help myself and my therapist to work through this issue? I am dreading my next appointments until I'm 65. I'm 44 and have only seen a GYN 4 times in my adult life. I have also recently started EMDR with my therapist in the hopes that I can work through this. I hate pelvic exams, being naked in front of strangers, and ruminating on the exam months before, during, and after. Please help. I also want to have a baby, but there's way more involved with an OBGYN when conceiving or pregnant or giving birth. All right. If you can relate to this listener and just thinking about going to the gynecologist makes your chest tighten or your stomach knot up, I want you to know something right away. You are not alone. And what you're feeling is completely valid. Today, we're going to unpack this, explore some practical tools, and talk about reclaiming safety, control, and a sense of agency in your body. Our listener submitted question toward the end of this episode is one about fantasy, specifically non-consensual sex. If this could be triggering for you, I encourage you to go ahead and turn the episode off right before we get to that part. I'll let you know once we're about to answer that listener submitted question. So let's start with the first piece. How to work with your therapist on this. First things first. Let's name the fear. Tell your therapist exactly what's happening. The dread, the panic, the shame. You might feel embarrassed, but your therapist can only help if they really understand the full weight of what you're carrying. I recognize that it can be hard to be vulnerable with a stranger. So, if you need a few sessions to build rapport, that's absolutely understandable. However, as I'm sure many of you know all too well, in this healthcare system, time is money. The sooner you get to the truth, the sooner your therapist can help you get to your breakthrough. I know in my sessions with clients, I do my absolute best to make sure that the first session is building rapport, we have a good thing going, and I hope to help my clients to feel as comfortable as possible with me so that we don't waste time or money. All right. So, let's try to consider breaking the exam down into smaller parts. So, our big fear, pelvic exam. But that's not just one thing. It's also the anticipation leading up to the appointment, the waiting room, putting on the gown, the actual exam, and then there's the aftermath of the exam. So, with EMDR, you can target each part separately, helping to make it more manageable. Another tool is rehearsal. So, practicing phrases like stop, I need a break, let's slow down. This gives your body a signal that you are in control and that you can respond instead of just reacting. I invite you to take a moment and consider other areas of your life that you practice using these phrases, if at all. Is the medical office the only time you feel this level of anxiety and panic? Can these phrases and skills be transferable to other areas of your life? Another way to think about this: when was the last time your body felt completely out of control? Imagine how it would feel if you could give it back some choice. That's what we're aiming for here: a sense of agency over your own body. Practicing that agency outside of the room, the medical room where you have all this anxiety. If this seems difficult to imagine, you're not alone. So let's tackle the part that keeps so many people awake at night: rumination. Ruminating about a pelvic exam months in advance is exhausting. And honestly, it's no wonder that this listener and many other people avoid their appointments. One tool I recommend is a time bound worry practice. You might have even heard of this before. So maybe a few times a week, thinking about the exam, 10, 15 minutes max. Set a timer on your phone if you need to. Write down your fears, then deliberately shift your attention elsewhere. So, this is an option that can keep the worry from taking over your entire life. If you're going through EMDR, you are likely also going to be developing skills such as a container, which is a very similar practice where you're learning how to put things away until you can access them again later, right? So, this is not about like toxic positivity. These things are not going away necessarily, but we are having specific times, maybe specific places where we are going to commit to thinking about them and maybe action planning. So during the appointment itself, grounding anchors are your friend. Maybe some music, holding a small object in your hand, focusing on slow, measured breaths. These tools won't erase the discomfort completely, right? I'm not going to lie to you. But they will give your nervous system a steady point to hold on to. Something else to consider: how are you thinking about this? So rather than something is being done to me, try this is something that I'm choosing for myself. This very subtle change in framing makes a big difference. As I tell my clients all the time, the things that we tell ourselves matter. The narrative in our head matters, right? People say sticks and stones may break my bones, but words may never hurt me. It's a lie. I mean, it's a cute rhyme, but it's not true. The words matter, and the things that we tell ourselves matter. So, additionally, provider choice matters also. Do your due diligence when searching for a provider. You, this listener, and any listeners that maybe resonate with this submission, would do best with a trauma informed provider. Unfortunately, not all providers are trauma informed. It's unfortunate. You would think they are, but they're not. So you would do best with a trauma informed provider. Perhaps call ahead, ask about breaks, and let them know your needs. When your provider aligns with your needs, the experience can feel safer, even if it's still uncomfortable. To provide some self disclosure, as a Black woman, I always feel safer when my provider is also a Black woman, especially given the disparities in our healthcare system that disproportionately affect the mortality rate of Black women. Don't disparage yourself or allow others to make you feel bad for searching for or asking for what you want and need to feel secure. Whether you are in the doctor's office or at the grocery store or in traffic, reflect for a moment. What is one small way that you can reclaim choice and an experience that feels out of your control? Where are all the places that you can apply this choice? Now, the part that can feel the most emotionally conflicting. Our listener described that they are also wanting a baby while fearing these visits. This fear, once again, is not unique, and I hope that more than one of you can benefit from this next section. Wanting a child while fearing OBGYN visits is real, and it's okay to feel both at the same time. You don't have to pick one feeling over the other. There are supportive options. Consider, once again, trauma sensitive providers, trauma sensitive fertility specialists, midwives, or even doulas for support. You might not know this, but doulas aren't just for birth. They can be a part of your exams too to help you feel safer and grounded. A little bit more self disclosure, I chose a doula for myself when I was pregnant, and she helped me not only with exams and prep, but also during the birth, of course, and postpartum as well. There is an abundance of evidence to support that using a doula can improve maternal and baby health outcomes. Additionally, outside of considering your provider choice, there's therapeutic prep. So, reframing these visits as purposeful steps in your baby journey, not stressful hurdles. Your therapist that you said that you're seeing can help you navigate the emotional and physical preparation so it feels like a conscious choice rather than something being done to you. Another empowerment lens. Pregnancy and birth are incredibly vulnerable experiences. Building the coping skills now through EMDR, grounding, and provider choice sets you up for more control and more agency when you do pursue parenthood. So, how do we bring all of this together? Think of EMDR targets, grounding practices, time bound rumination, and advocating for yourself as pieces of a toolkit. Start with the small wins, maybe just scheduling the appointment or practicing grounding exercises. Celebrate yourself, celebrate your win. If you have setbacks, it's okay. Progress is not linear. Some visits might still trigger your anxiety. The goal is not perfection, it's reclaiming your body step by step. Furthermore, anxiety in and of itself is not a bad thing. We need all of our emotions. They're all important, even the ones that don't feel great. You might have heard this quote before, but it begs repeating. We can only regulate the emotions that we allow ourselves to have. So have the anxiety. It's completely fine. That's the only way you're going to learn how to regulate it. Here's the takeaway. Healing your relationship with pelvic exams is absolutely possible. It takes patience, tools, and sometimes the right provider. But you can do this. Your body is yours. These are your choices, and you are in control. If this episode resonated with you, or you have your own struggles with medical anxiety, send in your questions anonymously, and we'll be sure to explore them on the show. Remember, you get to take it one step at a time with care and compassion. It's time now for our anonymous segment, Whisper in My Ear, a space for your questions, curiosities, and confession. No shame, no judgment, just real talk and truth. Today's anonymous submission is a timely one, as it is Consent Awareness Week. So, one of you wanted to know, is it okay for your partner to have a rape fantasy? It feels scary. To that listener, thank you so much for trusting me with your curiosity. First things first, let's define a couple of things before I provide my response. Number one, what is rape? For our episode today, we are defining rape as any sexual act where the person or persons participating are doing so without giving their explicit and enthusiastic consent. Next, we need to be sure we're clear on the definition of a fantasy. For our purposes today, we are defining a fantasy as the activity of imagining things. Okay, so now that we're on the same page, my short answer is people are allowed to have fantasies and imagine whatever they want. As Rose from Titanic said, that a woman's heart is a deep ocean of secrets. I feel similarly about our imagination. This includes fantasies about non-consensual sex. What's interesting to me about this anonymous comment is that I don't know if the fantasy is for the partner to be the one perpetrating the act of non-consensual sex or the one receiving the act of non-consensual sex. But in any case, doesn't really matter. To this listener, your feelings about it are valid. What you believe about it being scary on either end of this particular fantasy is completely okay. I wonder about how you found out about this fantasy. The best case scenario that I can come up with is that your partner told you about this in confidence. If that's the case, well, I hope that you know that you are under no obligation to participate if you don't want to. However, if you are interested in learning more about fantasies in general or more about this particular one, you and your partner could do well to look into BDSM and the BDSM lifestyle. Something to keep in mind, BDSM is any consensual, big note, consensual practice involving a negotiated power dynamic between partners. It's understood that one person will have more power than the other. In that power dynamic, y'all might decide to play a game or act out a scene where it seems as though there is a non consensual act taking place, but it is in fact a consensually negotiated power dynamic. If you or your partner are concerned about this fantasy, it's always okay to speak with a therapist. I always am going to recommend a sex therapist specifically to talk about what's going on. It's never okay to act on any desire of sexual or non sexual activity, for that matter, on a person that has not given their explicit and enthusiastic consent. One resource that I recommend is bdsmtest.org. You can go there to learn more about what BDSM is. And if you're interested, take a short test that will help you determine more about your specific kinks. I hope that this episode was helpful. If there is more something that I left out or you have more questions, you can always reach back out to me in my anonymous inbox. Next time, we're going to build on this listener question by discussing power dynamics and relationships and how BDSM explores these safely. Thank you for being here, for listening, for getting curious with me. Whether it's a question, a story, or a truth, still finding words, this space is for you. Whatever it is, you don't have to hold it alone. Ask, share, confess. We're in this together. And if you've got something on your heart, drop it anonymously using the link in the show notes or over on Instagram. If this episode moved you, helped you, or made you feel seen, share it with a friend, leave a rating, or drop a comment. Your support helps this space grow. Follow me on Instagram and Threads at Pleasure and Peace with Tia for more. Until next time, remember, I've got you and you've got this. Talk to y'all soon.